Hey class, welcome back. Today we're going to be stepping into set design number 2. So I want to kind of further talk about sets and setting up that set space for you and how you want to host your class. All right, so today's topics are going to be about multi-cams and using multiple camera angles to really teach the best way that we possibly can. All right, so first off, behind me I have a hanging cam. I've got it hanging down off of a gooseneck, which is just a extendable arm. You can pick these up at anywhere that has cell phone accessories, because that's what this one is, where you can take a cell phone, you can push it onto a tabletop surface or whatnot, and you can move the neck around so you can hook your cell phone into it, because it doesn't need to hold a lot of weight, so that way the camera that's hanging from it is suspended and I can easily see various angles that I'm working with. Another one that I've got, this other multicam that I have, this one sits on the light that's above my tabletop that I'm actually working on. This one I'm still working on, and how I can maneuver it and how I can use it to take the images I need to take. So this one I've got sitting on a light. The light doesn't currently work. I've got to rewire it and just put a new bulb in, new fixture. It's old. It's from 1950s, so it just needs an update. But I went ahead and hooked my cam up to this so that as I'm teaching with, I can pull it over my drawing space and the students can see what I'm drawing with. They can see my hands a lot easier instead of having to move this camera around. Because let's be honest, if you're using the camera that's in your laptop, it's really hard to hold your laptop upside down so that you can draw at the same time. So what I did was, I have, my dad actually has a number of these cams that he's just had over the years, but he's, like me, we don't throw away. So what he gave me, the old cameras that he had, and I went ahead and hooked them up, and it's great. It's a plug and play option. There's a Feed the Hungry thing that's here in Atlanta that I went to a few years back. They had 2 or 3 of these cameras kind of in a bin. I grabbed a couple also, and I'm now needing them. But at the time I was thinking this will just be fun just to have multiple cameras up to where I'm doing these little these video sessions that I do, where I film this, I put it on my channel, and I upload it to you guys so you guys can use it in class. Using these works just the same way. So they plug in directly into the laptop, and then in either Teams or Zoom, you can check the camera option that you have on Teams. Is you hit the little cog icon or the show device settings, and you just select that camera. I've got my laptop set up to another series of cameras that I use, because I've taken old cell phones like this one and put an app on there and then turned it into the webcam as well. You can totally do it with a laptop with a camera like this, and I'll show that in a future videos. Just put that in the comments below if that's something you guys are interested in, and I'll work on that video for this digital toolbox thing. So needing these multiple cams is essential for us as artists so that we can show multiple angles of what we're trying to teach. And why is that important? It's real important because when we're delivering information, we stare directly at the camera, we stare directly at our students, and we're talking to them as we're giving out that information, and having that one-on-one eye contact allows the students to understand, oh, this is something important for me. But at the same time, they don't need to see our faces all the time. They sometimes need to see our work progress and what we're actually building, constructing, and whatnot. So using multiple cameras set up, it's a lot easier for the students to understand what you're trying to teach as well as you're talking to them. And you need that in today's age, as we're trying to show more manipulatives and what we can do with our hands and how we can create those different objects. All right, so how are we hooking these things up? So for this piece that I've got here, so for this camera, I've got a couple bulldog clips or binder clips, depending on what you guys call them. It's grabbing that directly to the metal shade of the lamp, and I'm using all metal in this so that as the bulb is warm, it doesn't damage the clips here, because if you did it with tape, the tape will dry out. If you're using masking tape, which I'm a big fan of, I will masking tape a chair to a wall if that's the tape that I have. Duct tape does work better, but you got to be aware of what is in the tape so that you don't have a fire hazard, which if you're dealing with lights and you're dealing with the heat that the lights put off, that does come into play. Make sure that you're being responsible and being safe in what you're attaching those items with. Now for the piece that's back here, I have that gooseneck item. I've actually got a drop ceiling, so then I just kind of clipped it into the rafters so that as it hangs down, it kind of just stays there on that one little hook. And it's so light, the camera is so light, I don't really have to worry about it pulling down too much, because it's only like a pound in the arm itself plus the camera. That's all it's hanging from that ceiling. I'm not really worried about the weight because of that. And I have the cable pulled off to the side so that as I'm using the space, I can put the laptop right there next to me, plug it in, switch the camera to the overhead cam as I'm working, and the kids can see exactly what I'm working on. I can just flip it back and they can see me directly in face to face as we're working as well. These are things that you gotta be thinking about ahead of time so that as these come into play and you need them, you know how they're gonna frame up. So my one that's on the arm over here, I can swing it back and forth depending on which section of the table I need to work on. If I'm starting off on the left side, I can draw over here and then move the camera instead of moving the palette or piece that I'm working on off the edge, because this is a small workspace. I need to be able to move the camera across rather than have my paper dangle off the side and I'm dripping paint into the floor because the piece isn't dry yet. Those are little things that I think about because of how I'm setting them up, but not everybody does. And you sometimes need to remember these things. It's a collaboration. We need to talk to each other, figure out what's the best solution, because no one's got all the answers. I certainly don't. I'm trying to give you guys as many helpful tips that I possibly can. I hope you guys got some for me as well. All right, so those are the basic things of having multiple cams in your room, setting up those multiple cams, having get some free older webcams that work just fine with a Chromebook. You don't need a lot of features, so if you got some of these hanging around, use those. Find funky ways to hang these things up in your guys' classroom. Again, I got a gooseneck back here, got a spinny little spring light over here. Hook it up, works just great, and that it's compatible with the software that you're using, so make sure that's the one thing that you do when you're researching any of this stuff. As always, let's take care of the homework, which is don't forget to like, subscribe, share all the various platforms. If you guys have a question, don't forget to raise your hand down in the comments below. Happy to answer those questions from all my classmates. As always, I will see you guys next class. Until then, later guys.